friends, it's so good to see you. My name is Emily, and today our story time is all going to be about bunny rabbits. So we're going to sing some songs that have bunnies in them, and we're going to read a story that has a bunny, and we're going to do a craft to make your very own sock bunnies. So to get started, we're going to sing a song. It was one of my favorite songs when I was little, and maybe you know it. It's called Little Bunny Foo Foo. So you can get your bunnies ready, right? Little bunny foo foo, hopping through the forest, scooping up the field mice and bopping them on the head. Down came the good fairy, and she said, Little bunny foo foo, I don't want to see you scooping up the field mice and bopping them on the head. I'll give you 3 chances, and if you don't behave, I'm going to turn you into a goon. So the next day, little bunny foo foo, hopping through the forest, scooping up the field mice and bopping them on the head. Down came the good fairy, and she said, Little bunny foo foo, I don't want to see you scooping up the field mice and bopping them on the head. I'll give you 2 more chances, and if you don't behave, I'm going to turn you into a goon. So the next day, little bunny foo foo, hopping through the forest, scooping up the field mice and bopping them on the head. Down came the good fairy, and she said, Little bunny foo foo, I don't want to see you scooping up the field mice and bopping them on the head. I'll give you 1 more chance, and if you don't behave, I'm going to turn you into a goon. So the next day, little bunny foo foo, hopping through the forest, scooping up the field mice and bopping them on the head. Down came the good fairy, and she said, Little bunny foo foo, I don't want to see you scooping up the field mice and bopping them on the head. I gave you 3 chances, and you didn't behave. Now, poof, you're a goon. And the moral of the story is, hare today, goon tomorrow. So, now we're going to read our story, and I'm going to read from this great big Treasury of Beatrix Potter. So this is a book that I've had since I was little, and it's one of my favorites. It's just full of stories that are all by the author Beatrix Potter. So Beatrix Potter was born more than 150 years ago, and she's known for writing all sorts of children's stories, including the one that we're going to read today, Peter Rabbit. Does that sound familiar? Do you know that story? The cool thing about Beatrix Potter is that she was not only a famous author, but she also was a famous scientist. And she was known for preserving land. And there's actually a national park in England that she owned most of the land and saved it so that now it's a national park instead of having lots of buildings built on it. So she felt really strongly that nature and all of the animals that live in nature that she loved to write her stories about should be preserved. And that's what led her to write Peter Rabbit. The Tale of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother in a sandbank underneath the root of a very big fir tree. Now, my dears, said old Mrs. Rabbit one morning, you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put into a pie by Mrs. McGregor. Now run along, and don't get into mischief. I am going out." Then old Mrs. Rabbit took a basket and her umbrella and went through the wood to the baker's. She bought a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to gather blackberries. But Peter, who was very naughty, ran straight away to Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. First, he ate some lettuces and some French beans, and then he ate some radishes. Then, feeling rather sick, he went to look for some parsley. But round the end of a cucumber frame, who should he meet but Mr. McGregor? Mr. McGregor was on his hands and knees, planting out young cabbages. But he jumped up and ran after Peter, waving a rake and calling, "Stop, thief!" Peter was most dreadfully frightened. He rushed all over the garden, for he had forgotten the way back to the gate. He lost one of his shoes among the cabbages, and the other shoe amongst the potatoes. After losing them, he ran on 4 legs and went faster, so that I think he might have got away altogether, if he had not unfortunately run into a gooseberry net, and got caught by the large buttons on his jacket. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new. Peter gave himself up for lost and shed big tears. But his sobs were overheard by some friendly sparrows, who flew to him in great excitement and implored him to exert himself. Mr. McGregor came up with a sieve, which he intended to pop upon the top of Peter, but Peter wriggled out just in time, leaving his jacket behind him. And he rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a can. It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in, if it had not had so much water in it. Mr. McGregor was quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hidden underneath a flower pot. He began to turn them over carefully, looking under each. Presently, Peter sneezed, "Kershoo!" Mr. McGregor was after him in no time, and tried to put his foot upon Peter, who jumped out of a window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter. He went back to his work. Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath and trembling with fright, and he had not the least idea which way to go. Also, he was very damp with sitting in that can. After a time, he began to wander about, going lippity-lippity, not very fast, and looking all around. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked, and there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone doorstep, carrying peas and beans to her family in the wood. Peter asked her the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him. Peter began to cry. Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Presently he came to a pond where Mr. McGregor filled his water cans. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still, but now and then the tip of her tail twitched as if it were alive. Peter thought it best to go away without speaking to her. He has heard about cats from his cousin, little Benjamin Bunny. He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a hoe. Scritch, scratch, scratch, scritch. Peter scuttered underneath the bushes. But presently, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed upon a wheelbarrow and peeped over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor hoeing onions. His back was turned towards Peter, and beyond him was the gate. Peter got down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could go along a straight walk behind some black currant bushes. Mr. McGregor caught sight of him at the corner, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the wood outside the garden. Mr. McGregor hung up the little jacket and the shoes for a scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Peter never stopped running or looked behind him till he got home to the big fir tree. He was so tired that he flopped down upon the nice, soft sand on the floor of the rabbit hole and shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in a fortnight. I am sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose of it to Peter. 1 tablespoonful to be taken at bedtime. But Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberries for supper. And that's the tale of Peter Rabbit. Did you like that story? Have you heard it before? So before we get started with the instructions for how to make your own sock bunny at home, we're going to sing one more song. And to do this, I'm actually going to need your help. So I need you to be my little sleeping bunnies. So what you're going to do is when I start singing, you're going to be asleep. You can lie down on the floor, or you can just put your head on your hands like this. You're going to be a little sleeping bunny. You could even snore if you want to. But when I say, wake up soon, you're going to get up and hop around like a bunny. And I'm going to be singing hop, hop, hop. So just hop around the room until we're done with the song, okay? Okay, here we go. Are you sleeping? Go to sleep. See the little bunnies sleeping till it's nearly noon. Come and let us gently wake them with a merry tune. Oh, how still are they ill? Wake up soon. Hop, little bunnies, hop, hop, hop. 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 Very good. I love seeing all you little bunnies out there hopping around. So that's it for our stories and song session. Now if you stick around, I'll show you how to make your own little sock bunny. It was so good to see you guys today. Bye-bye. So here is everything that you will need to make your sock bunny. First, you'll need a sock, and it has to be a sock that you're okay never wearing again because we are going to cut it. You'll need some rice, something to scoop your rice with, a marker, scissors, and I'm going to be using rubber bands. You can use rubber bands too, or you can use some string or twine or ribbon, and a glass or a cup. So, to get started, take your glass and put the sock in the glass and roll the top of the sock over the rim, like that. Then scoop up some rice and pour it into the sock. You might have to shake or tap your glass like this to get the rice to go all the way down into the toes. Now, how much rice you put in is going to depend on the size of your sock. My measuring cup right here is about 1/4 cup, and I'm going to aim for a cup of rice. which means I'm gonna fill this up 4 times. You might even want to lift your sock up and shake it a bit. And actually, even though I only did 3, I think that's enough rice for right now. You don't want to fill your sock up all the way the first time. You want to get it a little less than halfway filled. And then if you shake it around, okay, so a nice little ball in the bottom. So now I'm going to take rubber band number 1 and close off the rice. So I want all of the rice to stay down in the toe of the sock, like this. Now we do need to put more rice in it again. So go ahead and put your sock back in your glass and roll it over the top. Now this time we want less rice than we put in the bottom. So since I did 3 of these the first time, I'm going to try to do 1.5 this time. There's 1. I'm going to tap it a little, and I'm going to try to get about 1/2. Okay. Bring my sock out of the glass. Tap it down a little bit. And I'm going to put my other rubber band around this part. So now we have our bunny body and our bunny head. All that's left to do is the ears. So with the extra that's left up at the top, we're going to take our scissors, and you might have to have a grown-up help you with this. And we're going to cut right down the middle of the sock. If you have fabric scissors at your house, that might work a little easier. Oh, I've got some rice in the top there. Okay, so you're going to cut it right down the middle. And you could just leave it like this if you wanted to. Or you can also cut these rectangles that you've got into a triangle, because we know that bunnies have ears that are shaped like a triangle. Okay, like that. You do lose a little bit of ear that way. So if you don't have very long ears, like mine doesn't, you might not want to do this. Or you can fill up your sock a little less. And then you'll have longer ears at the end. Okay. So there are my bunny ears. Now that's all that's left to do is give our bunny a face. And that's what the marker is for. So a really easy way to do a bunny face, and you can do it however you want to. This is how I'm going to do it, is to do 2 dots for the eyes. Like that, 1, 2. And then a little X for the nose and the mouth. And there you go, you have a little bunny friend. Now what's really fun about these is that because they're filled with rice, you can actually heat them up in the microwave for 20 to 30 seconds. And they'll get nice and warm, and you can hold onto them and they'll be really warming. They'll warm up your hands, you can hug them. You can also, before you get started, you can sprinkle something that smells good in the rice. You could do like cinnamon or ground cloves or nutmeg, something that you have at your house. And then when you warm it up, not only will it be warm, but you'll get a really nice smell, and it'll be very comforting. And that's how you make a sock bunny.